Hi everyone, it's Charlotte Pierce here with Ready Row USA at the USRowing Convention 2023. We're back in person and we're really loving it. The day has been going great. And I'm here with Jennie Trayes, who's the Director of Community Engagement for USRowing and formerly and still has the DEI mandate, or what do you call it, portfolio. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you came to work at USRowing, what your rowing story is. That's kind of
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Charlotte. It's been fun to chat with you leading up to the interview. My rowing story. Well, I was not a rower growing up. I played basketball and soccer. Basketball was my first love. We didn't have rowing where I came from, but as we know, you can start rowing later in life. I walked onto the team at Bucknell University in central Pennsylvania. I rowed there for 4 years. Had an amazing opportunity to row at the Royal Henley, and my best friends were on the rowing team. Changed my life. So after college, worked for 10 years at Row New York, and I took 2 years out of rowing in 2019, worked at a sports technology company for youth athletes, and ultimately wanted to get back into rowing and felt like this position was a great marriage of my passion for equity and social justice and rowing. So on my team here at USRowing, I get to work with Deb Ehrenberg on all of our veterans rowing and adaptive rowing for people with disabilities, and Ellen Minzer, which I met earlier, and the STEM team, which supports clubs across the country in making their middle school programs more inclusive and competitive, and with our newly appointed, she's been here coming up on a year now, I guess, but a new position, DEI Associate Jess Jackson.
Yeah, and I was wondering about Bucknell. When you said you walked on, what was the thing that made you want to walk that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question because I've been reflecting on it recently. We're actually in the midst of developing materials that clubs can leverage across the country to recruit new athletes, especially athletes that might never have heard of rowing or thought about it, which was my case. So I remember when I was going to be a freshman, we got in the mail. I think they literally sent a flyer to every woman who was about to be on campus, a freshman, that said, come one, come all, no experience necessary.
Did you have to be over a certain height?
It was short. It literally said those short, tall, no experience necessary. And I was like, I'm not I love basketball, but it's D1. I'm not going to walk onto the basketball team. Why don't I give this a try? And I think seeing no experience necessary, try something new. I don't know, it piqued my interest, and I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, because I was just interested because we're always talking about broadening the sport and reaching new communities, and so what makes people say, I would like to do.
Yeah, and especially I didn't know anyone else going to that school. I knew that it would be kind of a built-in community, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do is really emphasize the community element of rowing. I think we have traditionally emphasized the grit and the tenacity and the competition, which is all important stuff for rowing, but also the friendships, the bonds, the mentorship opportunities, all of that.
And that's what keeps people coming back to their boathouses, to being members of USRowing, to that community. I was talking with my friend Rick from the Veterans Program at CRI. And, I think that was the main thing that he mentioned was just the camaraderie. That's, he lives up in Newburyport and comes down to practice with the team in Boston.
Is that far? How far?
It's probably 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's a good chunk of time.
Yeah. So it's motivation.
Absolutely. Yeah, can we make sure that everyone feels a connection with someone in the boathouse, a sense of belonging and valued? I think because that's what keeps people in it.
Yeah. So, what are some major? Do you have any major initiatives this year, or things that you're hiring, or?
Yeah, so I've been in the role a year. We really just hit the ground running last year with various initiatives, but a lot of time last year, 2022, was also spent during doing the strategic planning process. We launched that on three fronts: the organization-wide, HP, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. We did it in that way because DEI had been neglected, for lack of a better word, for a number of years and really needed kind of its own approach, its own process, lots of stakeholder engagement. So right now the plans are being integrated completely so that DEI is a part of the overarching plan. But as part of that, there are various strategies we'll employ, creating a more welcoming place, an environment in rowing, and that includes kind of changing the perception of rowing to make it more welcoming. Supporting clubs and athletes. So that's one of our major initiatives this year is clubs and athletes and coaches want to make the programs more inclusive, but they don't always have the tools they need. So can we, as a national governing body, fill that gap? So launching an educational resource that will have templates and resources, posters for the boathouse, and flyers that clubs can kind of fill in their names and their dates and tools and education on how to build partnerships and reach new people. So lots of support clubs down the line. We'd also like to start grant making. Down the line, I mean like probably 2024. It's in our plans.
Soon enough.
Yeah,
Next year.
exactly. So, and then on the HP front, really providing a lot of transparency and clarity around what you heard us, Ellen and I chatting on the para front. I think there's an eagerness for athletes and coaches to get into the pipeline, but not always the knowledge. So making sure that that's transparent and then supporting athletes with a lot of potential as part of our high performance program as well.
Yeah. I know at my boathouse, they ask for volunteers to like tutoring for row Boston or people to do bowing for para, and that just builds interconnections between the communities. Now I have a friend who's she's staff and we rowed together in a recreational row. It was wonderful.
It's about those connections.
We start caring about each other.
Yeah, and like finding that commonality, which, yeah, I think when we were kind of chatting about what this call would be, I was reflecting on the challenges, and I think the challenge for me has been getting people to understand that making rowing more inclusive and creating a sense of belonging for everyone in the sport, even non-rowers who don't know that they want to be in the sport yet, doesn't mean we're excluding people who have been in it,
Right,
or like
yeah.
trying to kick anybody out.
No, those experiences have enriched my own rowing experience. Makes me want to, keep participating and being part of it.
Yeah, it's not pie. There's enough rowing
Yeah, it's
water
like
and boats to go around.
Yeah, we have to worry that someone's going to grab our,
Yeah.
our spot.
Yeah, which I think is maybe human nature to fear the unknown, right? But I think the role, as I see it, of the governing body is to say, let's get together and grow and bring the fun back in the community and celebrate our differences, right? And acknowledge that it has been painful. That's the truth too, and learn from
what
that.
to do. Like my community, the high school team that I'm part of, it's a pretty, homogenous white community. Like you can't just go out and diversify immediately. You have to work on it. I think one of the calls that you posted, you're talking about, I think, who's the
Just
suggesting have the crew go to the basketball games, engage with those or the football games because Those are more diverse than growth.
And I think we often, I mean, it makes sense because it's such a glaring demographic that's missing from rowing. But I think we jump straight to race and ethnicity, which is important and probably the priority of a lot of our initiatives right now. But I think when it comes to, rowers, coaches, leaders in more homogenous white spaces, I think who is missing? Like there's probably someone with whether they have a disability or a different socioeconomic background or different learning style. Like we can broaden our definition of what diversity is.
Some gender issues, so those were really made an effort to constructively. Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to add, or any exciting things? What's anything at the convention?
Oh yeah, I'm excited to learn more from our Stone to Stern guys at 4:00.
Will's gonna come by. Hopefully, I do an interview.
And Brooke, maybe.
Yeah, Brooke. Yeah, absolutely.
And then another one that's standing out is really focus on my work is these Kyle Williams and Kamal Carter from A Long Talk will be speaking to the whole convention at lunchtime tomorrow, and then they're doing a workshop on kind of being a part of the change. And the change in rowing does not mean we're kicking anyone out, but just broadening.
It's going to be healthier.
Yeah.
And more dynamic and more fun. Yeah. I'm the long talk. I think one of your webinars.
Oh, great.
With those guys. Yeah. And it was profound.
They do incredible work, and I just like meet you where you are and are so patient and they're so dynamic. And I love the way they play off of each other too.
They were inspiring.
Yeah.
The other one I love is Richard Butler.
He'll be here too.
Yeah, he said he was
panels. Carol Schonecker and Lee Parker and Ted Bedford and
Bedford, yeah. So if you see them, send them over. I'd like to just catch up. I know we did an interview with Ted in the last convention. Richard's been on it.
Okay.
I haven't met him in
Don't worry,
person.
let me send you. Oh, you haven't?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I know. I just love. He is he's so inspiring to me. Met him on a couple different projects, and
He's wonderful.
just his patience and just creativity, understanding, kind of like what you said.
Yeah, I was rewatching. I'm such a nerd, but was rewatching some panels from conventions that passed. I think it was 2 years ago. Arshay Cooper was leading one, and Richard was on it.
Yeah.
I'm always jotting down notes. Even I get to work closely with Richard because he's the chair of the DEI committee.
Sure.
But he just always has so many nuggets of wisdom and things to pass on and catchy ways to say things that are
And he makes you want to get it.
absolutely.
It's just the way he communicates.
Yeah. He always says, "You matter." And I guess
Yes, you matter.
You matter. You matter. So,
We all matter.
yes.
So thank you so much for being here, and thanks for sending me some of these interesting people. And tomorrow's another day. We'll be here all day, and
So glad you're here.
hopefully my voice will.
Yeah, you need some water over here.
Exactly.
Thanks so much.
All right. Take care. It's always awkward when you